A wildfire in Gran Canaria in the Canary Islands forced evacuation of around 4,000 people. Alarmingly, the fires, which started on Saturday, are advancing on two fronts in a mountainous area of the island. More than 1,700 hectares have already been burnt. 11 roads are closed. A state of emergency has also been declared in two municipalities. About 700 firefighters were deployed to fight the fire, which started near the town of Tejera. Authorities issued warning that it could take days for the blaze to be brought under control. They've also sought assistance of the Spanish government. No casualties have been reported as of yet. Gran Canaria is the second most populous of the Canary Islands off the northwest coast of Africa. Known as a popular tourist destination, the island received around 13.7 million foreign visitors last year. Moving on, the Iranian tanker that was detained by Gibraltar has finally sailed out of the British overseas territory. According to Refinitiv shipping data, the Grace 1 tanker left Gibraltar around 11 p.m. local time on Sunday. The vessel was renamed Adrian Darya 1 and was given an Iranian flag. It's not clear where the vessel is headed to. According to ship tracking service Fleetmon, the Adrian Darya 1 turned off its satellite tracking system after leaving Gibraltar. This comes after Gibraltar rejected a United States request to detain the vessel. The tanker's detention ended last week. This was after Iran assured that the ship's oil would not go to Syria. But a federal court in Washington issued a warrant for the seizure of the tanker. The warrant also called for seizure of the vessel's oil, along with a fee of nearly $1 million. This request was rejected by Gibraltar, but the warrant did delay the vessel's departure. The Adrian Darya's release is now expected to pave the way for Iran to free British tanker Stena Impero. The tanker was captured in the Persian Gulf last month. Iran accused the British tanker of breaking international maritime rules. U.S. President Donald Trump has likened the situation in Hong Kong to the ongoing trade talks with China. Trump warned his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping against reacting violently to the protests in Hong Kong. He said that it could threaten a trade deal. Trump drew parallels between the violent protests in Hong Kong and Beijing's suppression of pro-democracy protests in Tiananmen Square way back in 1989. Listen to what Trump had to say.
I mean, if it's another Tiananmen Square, I think it's a very hard thing to do if there's violence. And, you know, that I'm president, but that's a little beyond me because I think there'd be tremendous political sentiment not to do something. So I hope, because I think we're going to end up doing a very good deal. And I think China, by the way, needs a deal much more than we do. But I really do believe that if this weren't part of the deal, possibly something would have happened already a long time ago.
Now remember, armored vehicles and Chinese paramilitary personnel have been stationed at Shenzhen City, which borders Hong Kong. The troop deployment has raised concern that China is considering a military intervention in Hong Kong. Meanwhile, more than 100,000 people continue to hold pro-democracy protests in a peaceful manner in Hong Kong. The protest took place amid severe warnings by Beijing. Activists and police in Hong Kong clashed several times in the past 11 weeks. But it was one of Hong Kong's calmest and biggest weekend protests yet. Tens of thousands of protesters gathered for a mass rally from Victoria Park to Chater Garden in Hong Kong. For the first time, the police banned the Civil Human Rights Front from holding a march from downtown Victoria Park to the Central Business District. But police granted permission for a rally at the park. Over the past 3 months, the Civil Human Rights Front have organized several demonstrations that drew millions of protesters. Over the past 2 months, marches often started out peacefully but descended into violence, with protesters clashing with the police, who used tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse the crowd. The unrest in Hong Kong, which began as a protest against an extradition bill, has now morphed into one of the biggest crises Chinese President Xi Jinping has faced since he came to power.